The reason I put Chiro Freedom Producers together was I grew up in chiropractic. See, my dad's a chiropractor, my little brother's a chiropractor, so I'm second generation. And I saw the struggles my dad went through as far as a businessman. Great doctor, but not a very good businessman. And then getting out of school, I always wanted to have this big, huge practice in business, and I excelled and I started right away, but I felt like I was a slave to my practice. Everything I did was successful because of who I was, but I ruled with the iron fist. I was terrible with staff. I remember one time I showed up at work and it was a Monday morning. I had my 5-week-old daughter and I'm a single dad at the time. And I come to the door and door's locked. I'm like, it's about time to see patients and all the lights are off, the door is locked. I'm like, what the heck's going on? So I had those glass doors, you know how they have that keyhole, that's glass, not the keyhole, but the mail slot. So I look through there and I can see this manila envelope on the ground. And I'm like, what the hell? Okay, so I unlock the door, bring my daughter in, I pick up the envelope. It shakes. I'm like, interesting. So I open it up, it's all the office keys, right? And all 3 of my staff quit on me. So I realized early on in practice, I was not good at managing people. So at that time, I learned that, hey, listen, I got to get better at being a businessman. I got to get better at people. So I hired consultant after consultant after consultant, and I ended up being a better chiropractor, better communication within the chiropractic philosophy, but I was still the main guy in the business, right? I couldn't go on vacation because if I left for vacation, we didn't make any money, right? Which puts strain on relationships when you say we're going to do something and then you take it back because, you know, you're afraid that you're not going to have the income when you come back or the practice is going to go down. So I felt like I was chained to the practice. Practice didn't become fun anymore, so I needed to find something else out. So I really ventured outside of chiropractic to learn the processes and the business structure that I'm teaching now, because I believe that we all deserve to love what we do, but my number one core value is freedom. And if you don't have freedom, you don't have balance in your life, and then you're a slave. And I don't think people should be a slave to their practices. So my purpose is to help chiropractors get the freedom they deserve, so they practice because they want to, not because they have to. Well, I say there's producers and there's pretenders, okay? So a pretender does a lot of talk. They say that they do a lot of stuff, but they never actually do the action steps to do it. So, you know, I believe that people that are producers should get rewarded, but I also believe people should have freedom so they can be creative and have the life that they want. So when I looked at my core values, what's important to me, freedom was always on the number one. And I was tired of people talking the talk but not walking the walk. And so when I train and I get other people involved in the programs, because I want them to produce. Because just because it's theory, if you can't apply it, it's not good. Because we're always looking for knowledge, right? We're in the information age nowadays. And people, I believe, have too much knowledge. They don't live their knowledge, right? They're always, what's the next book? What's the next thing I got to learn? But they don't apply any of that. When you live your knowledge, then it actually works. Now you produce because you actually have a product, you can measure it, right? So freedom by producing, because if I produce means I got the income I need, I got the staff working doing the jobs I want, I don't have to be a slave, I can do the things I can travel the world, I can be creative, I can add into other endeavors because I love teaching and coaching. That's why I'm doing this. I actually prefer it more than seeing patients. You know, I've learned that, okay, I might have the skill set to be a chiropractor, but I no longer have the passion to just see patients. So I have the skill set of coaching and consulting, and I have the passion for it. So I've evolved after almost 20 years in practice now that my passion is to help other chiropractors be more successful. As a bigger purpose, I can only see so many people. And the clinics I've had, we can only see so many people as a clinic. I can make a bigger impact on the profession by helping other doctors be more successful. So that's just kind of why I got into this. Because we have a system in place that's reproducible. It's predictable, right? Most doctors get to a point based on their talent, their skill set, they hit the ceiling, right? They hit this barrier, right? Some people it's 300 visits a week, some people it's 50 visits a week. It all depends on the individual and the training they've had. And what happens is we get to that point, we might bust through a little bit, we self-sabotage, we go back down, and then we play the game over and over again, right? This leads to burnout, right? When you look at small business, 50% of small businesses fail within 5 years. Out of the 50% that are successful, 85% of them are franchises. Why? Because they're standardized, they're reproducible, right? When you go to Starbucks, you get the same caramel macchiato at every Starbucks you go. They have it standardized. McDonald's is run by teenagers. They've created it standardized so it's simple. right? So what I look at is how can we make things as simple as possible? Because there's 5 things to really bust through these barriers. Simplicity. You have to have simplicity in place. Anything that's not simple, it's going to create chaos. It's not predictable in that way, right? So you also have to learn how to delegate. One thing that we find is chiropractors, we're control freaks, right? And if we can't delegate to someone else our weaknesses, we'll never bust through that level because that's just a skill set that we have. And a lot of coaching programs I got frustrated with was always work on my weakness, and I didn't enjoy it, right? So hire your weaknesses, work on your strengths. Where do you excel at? And really excel at that, because now you really actually have the passion for what you're doing. So let's get that set in place. So let's make things simple, and then you can actually delegate the processes that you need to delegate. People are opening up their mail still where they don't need to be opening up their mail. There's certain things that we need to kind of let go, right? The other thing is predictability. Can you predict what your outcome is? If I do A, B, and C, I'm going to get D, right? And that's with a weekly meeting, right? So in our process, what we've learned, I've done so many different trainings through Gazelle, Traction. There's all these different things out there, and they make it all for big business. And so I've been through enough small businesses, whether it's orthodontists, dentists, they're actually really good at their business structure, that I've learned how they've done it and they've simplified things, right? So what are your quarterly rocks? What are the 90-day goals for the office? And dumbing it down so that everyone has a responsibility. So now there's predictability when you do that. Of course, you have to have systems. You can't run over multiple different systems because it creates chaos or confusion. A business can only run on one major operating system, so you got to make it your own, right? And I feel that we've put together operating systems that people can actually use and even use their flair on it and their personality to it, because not everything works for everyone cookie cutter, right? It's got to be individualized. Everyone here is unique and special, so we got to make this structure unique and special, because structure is the foundation. So that's the last thing, right? As long as we can put structure and we know who's accountable for what, whose roles and responsibilities are what, now we can manage, right? We went to school to become healers, not business owners per se, because we didn't know what we were getting into a lot of times. Now we come back out and we're kind of lost. And we'll never reach our potential unless we have the tools, right? So I created Chiro Freedom Producers so that doctors, small business owners can have the tools to run a good business, not just have a great job. It all depends, okay? I think it works for both. We just have to do a different gradient. Some people want acceleration. They know what to do, but they want to accelerate as fast. So we have that ability to help you get there faster. Some people just don't know that they don't know. So now we need fundamentals, right? So we're going to teach them the fundamentals. So I've taken offices that see $1 million, almost $2 million a year, and taken them above and beyond faster, because we just cleaned up, we just tightened the screws with them. Now we got the brand new offices that don't really have any structure, then we got to put the structure in it, right? So it all depends on what their needs and wants are. It's not one program exactly for everyone, but they're all fundamental tools that people have to have in order to allow this to succeed. So, it all depends on the needs and wants of what and the problem they're trying to solve. We make the program set on what problem you need to solve. No, we are very selective of who we work with, right? If you don't want to do the work, don't hire us, right? We've built our business based strictly on referral. I have not had to market so far because of the results we've gotten, and the results speak for themselves now. I've turned people away because they're not ready to do the work. Because you can't just give them information. If they don't apply, it's not going to work. It's got to be win-win. It's got to be win that I know you're going to do it and you get the results. I don't want to just take your money and say, oh, too bad you didn't get the results. No, it's got to be a win-win. So we pick and choose. You have to actually go through an interview process with us before we accept you as a client. What's unique about us too is that we do the in-house. So we actually come into your environment and see what's not working. We have the bird's eye view of what people don't see. Because you can walk in your office the same time every day and miss the cobwebs that are in the corner, right? Your focus is somewhere else. And when we can come in, we can see, is it a flow issue? Yeah, we can listen to what's going on the staff. And then we get everyone on the same page. One of our unique skill sets is that we're good at getting the whole team on the same page and with the same goal and the same targets and who's responsible. So when we leave your office, you know what you're doing for your goal for the next year, and everything for the next 90 days is already set in place. So all you have to do is execute, right? You don't have to go you go to a seminar, you learn all this crazy stuff, then you get back to Monday and you're like, okay, what do I do now? then paralysis by analysis, and then usually don't get anything done, right? So when we become overwhelmed, we get complacent, and we actually become lazy because of it. So it can. Depends on how fast you want to get to success, right? We have module training online now. You can do it that way if you want to. It all depends on what your needs and wants are. So you can learn as you go in your pace. But if you want the fullest experience of this, the in-house is probably really good, but you can do it on your own too. Some people are really talented and they don't need that much help. But yeah, we have module training too. We can do it over the phone. We can actually do virtual now. It all depends on what your needs and wants are, but I know to us, we've seen the best success when we actually go in. In the beginning, you may need us weekly at the beginning, but it goes to every other week to monthly. So you get an average about 26 calls in a year with us. Over time, you start to learn how to do this without me, right? Without us. Yeah, our goal is to teach you how to fish, not fish for you, so that you actually have the tools that you use us when needed after a while. Plus you're part of our private Facebook page, and there's question and answer going on all there with the upper elite docs in the profession. Because once they got this business in place, now you guys all speak the same language. You can ask each other questions and bounce ideas off each other. It's nice to have a nice community of elite docs that you can actually work with. No, actually, so Dr. John Lee from California, he has a unique skill set that I don't have, right? So just like I teach to delegate and hire your weaknesses, well, Dr. John is the marketing guru of the practice, and he's what we call the integrator. And you'll learn that once you learn about an accountability chart. There's a visionary that runs a business, and there's an integrator. He's good at the everyday organizational stuff. So he really helps with our organizational stuff. If you have organizational issues in your office, he's going to be the facilitator for those type of things. In our module training, we go through the CEO approach. All right, so we want you to be CEOs of your business. C for us stands for communication, right? Because if you don't have any communication, everything else fails. Right? So how are you communicating? Are you communicating and actually getting true communication? So there's different modules on communication, sales, different things of that nature. Day 1, day 2, re-exams, reports, all these type of things. Then E stands for entrepreneurship. How do you grow a business? Marketing, things like that. Their future planning, different stuff like that. And then the O stands for operating systems. How are you putting the operations in place so that all this works? So every month we launch a video of at least every one of those. So you're constantly learning in different dynamics of a business. It's not just one-dimensional.